Hey there, so I just replaced the front doors of my house, and I didn't want to throw them away, so I'm going to repurpose them into an outdoor table. I'll be cutting out the window portion of the one side of the door and joining it to the opposite side of the other door with pocket screws and luck. I'm going to make the surface flush by filling the decorative embossed panels with 1/2-inch plywood, but first I'm going to start by trimming down the door to the dimensions I need. Now that I have the rough dimensions cut out of this door, I'm going to go ahead and trim off the piece I need from the other door and remove the hardware off of that. So here we go. Okay, I have my edge guard in place 5 inches below my cut line. Now I'm going to run my circular saw across and get the top half of the door. Alright, so as you just saw, I screwed up pretty good there, and I was not paying attention to where my sawhorses were supporting the wood. I took a nice little chunk out of this wood, so I don't know if I've completely ruined it, but it's not going to be as nice as I had hoped, but that was probably some really good footage. This is more or less the shape I'm going for. As you can see, I have the left side that I've already cut out, and then the right side, which I just chewed through. I'm going to try to join that to the right side of this table, and as you can see, this side's a little bit different width. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the edging. I'm going to have to figure out what to do about the handle set holes there. Probably fill those in. So then in the next half of the video, I'm going to trim down the sides and join these up. Alright, so now I've measured out a 3-inch border all the way around. So that's pretty good. It's going to take out some of this chunk that I did when I wasn't paying attention to where I was cutting. And it's going to even up the edges all the way around. Take out some of the old door wood that isn't in the best shape. So we'll have a consistent 3-inch border all the way around the door. And now to get cutting. So now I'm going to attempt to use pocket holes to attach the top 1/5 of the door to the lower 4/5 of the other door. Not too bad. I'm going to have to definitely wood putty that. Alright, so I filled everything with a combination of leftover sawdust and wood glue, and looks terrible right now, but when I sand it out and I finish everything, it should look much better. Okay, so the plan is I'll take 1x4 and wrap the outside of the table edges with that, so I have a nice clean finished edge. What I will try and do is take 1x6, make table legs out of that. I'm going to double that up for thickness and strength, but I'm going to try and run it all the way up through the side skirt, which is going to make a little bit more work, but it might look a little bit more interesting than what is normally done. There might be a reason for that. Maybe it'll look terrible, but maybe it'll look really cool, so I'll give that a shot. So now what I'll do is I'll cut the legs to 30 1/4 inches high to give me my table height, and we'll see how that goes. now that I have the legs cut, what I'm going to try to do now is attach the leg onto the side skirt. So I'm going to cut this about this long. The measure was like 13 3/4 inches. And then I'm going to have to cut a longer piece to join to the next leg. And I'll see how that goes. So more or less this is the look I'm going to be going for. Just need to cut out this middle section here to the right length and then attach that, and then that needs to get attached to the table. So I have a lot more cutting to do. Now I'll take that piece I just cut and bring it over here. See if it fits in. Alright, so for a rough fit, looks like I know how to measure, so that's pretty good. So here's where we're at now. I have the short sides cut now and they're fitting tightly. Now I just need to cut these middle portions here before I start joining things. Here's an example of the legs. Obviously they're too skinny, so I'm going to double or maybe triple them up. Haven't quite decided yet, but they are in the right spots. Things are coming along. Before I go any further, I'm going to join up these L legs I'm making here because the rest of the dimensions might change as they suck up on the joints. So here we go. So I've set up my Craig pocket hole jig now with the correct thickness of the wood, which is 3/4 actual, and I'm going to put 2 screws in each so that I can join it to the wider leg. When you're going to do some face joining like this, you're going to want to use face clamps. Make sure that when you have the joint together there, it's nice and smooth as a final product. Keeps things from running away on you. I like to have another clamp that kind of keeps things together, so I use one of these large bar clamps. And then since I'm doing an outside project, I went with the waterproof kind, exterior, interior. Okay, so now we have a nice tight joint here. All these marks here indicate why you should clean the glue off of your face clamp so it doesn't dent your future work pieces. I have all these guys all attached. So the next stage will be attaching the 2 legs on each side to a piece in between. So now that I have those sides connected, I need to measure the distance to connect the rest of the skirt. Alright, it's nearing the end of day 2. As you can see, I've added a lot more pocket holes, glued the heck out of things on the edge band, and the attaching went pretty good. Side skirt's on. I really need to beef up these legs. So plan is I'm going to at least double this up in thickness. I'm going to connect them to each other through some length of wood, figuring out the nicest way of joining it, and that will be the next part. Alright, so we're reaching the last part of the table construction now. All I have left to do on major construction items is to beef up the legs and fill in the old holes for the deadbolts. What I've decided is I'll take 2x2 and attach it to the side of the 1x6s here on both sides, and I think that's going to give it the strength that I'll need and a pretty good look. And then I'll probably attach the legs horizontally to each other for some extra structural rigidity there. And then I picked up some 2-inch dowel stock that I'll have to slice off a corner of to cover up the hole in the door. So now I just need to cut the 2x2s to length and attach them. Now I have my legs cut. They're all set to attach. The measuring came up pretty good. The next step is to fill in the holes from the old door hardware. Need to run this through the table saw to chop off a little bit of a square edge there. See where the cut happened, where it wasn't a complete circle anymore. So this is kind of the shape I was going for. It was pretty successful. I have to see if it fits in now. Now the moment of truth is here to see if this round stalk of pine that I cut will fit into the hole. Wow, that's really satisfying. This other deadbolt hole was a slightly different size, so I had to cut this one special. And let's see if I can get this right twice in a row. It's like blocks, but for adults. Great. Now to attach the leg reinforcement, I'm going to face screw 1, 2, 3 attachment points that I've marked off, and I'm going to use a Forstner bit to countersink the holes, make it nice and clean. Now it's time to screw and glue. I'll just use a pull saw here to chop off the toothpicks I used. I will be taking some 1x6 and spanning the legs from here to here on both sides. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut those on the table saw now, and we'll see how that turns out. Alright, now that I cut the board to length, let's see if it fits. Now I'm just attaching the last bottom plate here. And we're almost done. So I really like how the table is turning out so far. The next thing I need to do is fill in the depressions on the table because it's going to make it hard to put plates on. So the solution I'm going to go with is to take 1/2 inch ply and kind of inset it in here But as you can see, the little angles that they've routed in make it so that it's not perfectly flush. So I've calculated that that's about a 60-degree angle, unless I'm completely wrong, and then I'll find out pretty soon. So I'm going to try and do a test cut here on this piece to see if I cut it at a 60-degree angle, if it makes it nice and snugged up. So given a right angle is 90 degrees, and the actual angle I think I have over there is about 58 degrees, I'm going to set the angle adjustment here to 32 and cut away and see how that works out. If I take this piece of wood and set it inside, it should be flush. It's actually dead on. So now that I know that 58 degrees is my angle, I can make the same adjustment to all sides of the square and then measure this so that it fits exactly into the depression here, and then do that for these 6 little route outs here on the table and give me a nice dining surface. All right, now that I have my panel cut, I'm going to go see if it fits in. Nice, perfect fit. Now I just have to repeat this for the other 5 panels. Now to try out square number 2. Not bad. So I've completed cutting the birch inlays to go in the routed panels of the doors. So now we have a nice flat surface. Everything is fitting real nice and tight here. And now we should be able to move into the next stage of finishing, which I think is going to consist of filling in the little nicks here and there, and then sanding everything down really good, and then working on stain these panels a dark color, probably paint the white something funky. I've had the opportunity here to go out and get the trim paint I wanted, and I've used that to cover the bottom of the door just to seal out the elements and just kind of test out the color. So I'm pretty happy with that. So here's my work in progress shot of staining the pine boards using a gel coffee stain. So the table's coming along here, and all I have to do now is tape off these interior panels and the edges. I'm going to stain that the same color as the sides here, and then I'll paint these white areas in with the blue that I had on the bottom. Now that the table's all marked off with tape, I can go ahead and use some stain to go ahead and finish off these inner panels and this outer edge, and we'll see how that turns out. And just really just spread it on, simple as that. And then what you do is you take a clean rag and you just wipe off the excess. All right, so it's all set. We just need to let this dry, and I can take the tape off and then start the paint phase. All right, now that I've taped off all the stained areas of the table, I'm ready to hit it with the final coat of paint. And then after that, I'll have to seal it up with some sparurethane for outdoor protection. But we're almost done. All right, we've reached the finishing stage of the outdoor table project. At this point, I'm going to brush on 3 coats of this Varathane sparurethane, which is a polyurethane that's for outdoor usage. So this stuff's supposed to go on milky and dry clear. All right, so now I'm on to the final finishing stage of my front door to outdoor table project. I've put at this point probably about 5 or 6 coats of sparurethane on here, standing in between each coat lightly. And now that I'm on my final pass, I'm just going to take some wet dry sandpaper. I'm going to start with 600 grit, and then I'm going to move up to the sanding sponges, which are 800 to 1000, and then 1200 to 1500. I haven't gone as high as 1200 to 1500 before. I'm hoping using this 12 to 1500 grit will give me that extra shine. And when you're using wet dry sandpaper, you're going to put a little bit of water and dish soap into a dish, and that will help lubricate the sanding sponge and give you a nice clean finish. So let's get started. So now I'm sanding with the 800 grit sponges, and I'm finding they're working really good, especially on the top of the table where there's some minor indentations that I wanted for these inset pieces, and that's coming out very smooth and nice. I think on the first pass I might have went through the finish of the sparurethane on the top, which is unfortunate. So I might need to add another coat. I think for that one though, I might spray that on. We're on this last pass here with the 1500 grit sandpaper. Things are pretty smooth so far. Okay, all the sanding work is done. I finished that up with a 1500 wet sandpaper. Came out really nice. Everything is really smooth. I'm just a little concerned at this point that I might have gone through the sparurethane finish in a couple places, so I'm going to respray the top to make sure it's absolutely bulletproof, since this will be going outside. Evidently, I bought the last can of this when I was stocking up for the project last week. I've been to 3 different stores and they're out. So now I am 1.5 coats through this thing and I can't finish. So I'm gonna have to settle for brushing on the last coat and hopefully it comes out all right. And to finish things off, I'm just adding a final wax coat here. All right, so there you have it. Outdoor table build from start to finish. Got my final wax coat on here. It's all shined up real nice. Learned some things along the way. If any more experienced people are watching this video and can offer me some tips on anything I did wrong, I'd love hearing from you. So please leave a comment below. If you found the video helpful, please click on like, consider subscribing to my channel, and I hope you had fun watching it. Thanks.